What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. So yeah, here we have these Santoro Fabworx front and rear engine guards, crash guards, saddlebag guards, whatever you guys want to call them. Great quality product from Santoro Fabworx, all made in the USA. These are a must-have for any motorcycle owner, just in case you ever happen to drop your bike. I've seen the most experienced riders drop their bike. It happens. And yeah, having a set of these is definitely going to protect your parts, protect your paint, because it's more expensive to get all that fixed than it is just to get a set of these. What's great about these is that they do have those sliders on there. They do have the Chacho slider replacements. You can easily just replace those sliders and no one's gonna know that you dropped your bike. So yeah, these are a must-have. Now, if you do happen to drop your bike, you still wanna inspect your guards, make sure there's no cracks in the welds or anything like that that ruins the integrity of the bar. For me, I wanted to go with these Santoro Fabworx. I've always loved Santoro Fabworx. They have great quality products, and that's what I wanted to put on this project. So I chose to go with the bright white option. It's gonna pop with this red, but they offer a variety of colors, or if you just want it raw and you don't want any color. Now, because I do have the Harley Davidson fairing spoiler kit, I did choose the CVO crash bar. They do provide you spacers with those. And then I did choose to go with the pre-wired option. Santoro Fabworx went all out with this pre-wired option with the Baja Lights. Santoro Fabworx linked up with Gorilla Cables and came out with a whole kit for this. Everything's all plug and play, waterproof. You don't have to worry about your cables getting corroded or any kind of cutting or splicing. Everything is all plug and play. Now, if you have a newer model bike, 2024s and up, you would not need the switch. This is the switch that turns on and off the light. Those 2024s and up, those newer models, have that option to add those auxiliary lights, so it's already built into the switches, which is great. But for me, I will be installing the switch. Now, with these Baja lights, you can choose to go with the S1s, S2, or the quads where they have the 4 lights. When you go on their website, it'll let you choose whatever lights you want to go with. Now, for these S2 Sport Baja lights, I do have the clear lenses on there. I will be changing these out to amber, but it gives me an opportunity to show you exactly what these look like at night with the clears and with the ambers. Let's say you already have the Santoro Fabworx engine guards and you wanted to add these lights. They do have those brackets. You can buy those separately. Then you can just add those lights on, zip tie them along your bars, route that up, and then get those connected. So here we have the rear saddlebag guards. Now, I did choose to go with the Chacho slider upgrade. They have different color options for those as well. Obviously, I went with the red to pop with that white. And then with these sliders, you're always gonna get black. They also have Cadillac crash bar wheels. You can get those in different color options. Now, let's say you have saddlebag guards already. Most of those do come in 2 pieces where you can link those together. That's gonna be easy for you because you don't have to do any cutting. You can easily just take that front one off and you can easily add these on. Now, for me, I will be having to cut, which is okay because I get to show you guys who don't have that option and not want to spend the extra money. I'll show you exactly how to get those saddlebag supports cut. It's not very hard. As long as you have the right tools, you'll be okay. But yeah, these are some badass bars. As Mike from Santoro Fabworx would say, this is some cool guy shit. So I'll show you exactly what comes in this kit and what comes in this kit because these are sold separately. And yeah, and then we'll get them installed. Let's go. Now, for the front crash bar, whether you go pre-wired or not, you will have your mounting hardware to get it installed on the bike. And if you have the CVO spoiler, they give you spacers. Your skinny one will go on the right and your fat one will go on the left. And also with this pre-wired option, it comes with the Extreme Chacho Hardware. You also get some stickers. Now, these smaller stickers, you can stick them on your crash bar. And they also provide you a QR code. This will take you directly to Santoro Fabworx YouTube channel, showing you exactly how to get this installed. Now, in the Gorilla Cable kit, you have your spot lamp connection harness, your power midline harness. This is gonna go underneath your tank. Then you have your push button switch that's gonna replace your perch clamp. Now, for the saddlebag guards, I did choose to go with the Chacho upgrade. So I got those spacers and those different color options. But if you don't go with that option, you still receive the sliders. All right, so for this install, I did use a cutter. This is to cut those back supports along with some eye protection and gloves. I used a measuring tape along with some tape and a marker. I did use an inner and outer reamer. This to clean up those edges. Once you make your cuts, a couple of size ratchets, a couple of size extensions, a 9/16 wrench, a 3/8 extended hex bit, zip ties along with a zip tie cutter, some blue Loctite, a 5/32, 3/16, 5mm, 7/32, and a 5/16 hex bit, T27, T40, and T45 Torx bits. All right, so first thing I need to do to get the front and the rear installed, I need to remove the seat, both saddlebags and side covers. Now, because I did choose the pre-wired option, I do have to remove the tank so I can run the wiring underneath. So I'll disconnect the fuel tank connector, This is your gray connector right here. Now, if your fuel line connector is a different color, just follow your fuel line harness down and disconnect that. I'll disconnect the overflow hose. Now I'll purge the fuel line. Now, when you go to start your bike, make sure your bike is in neutral, or just hold in the clutch so your bike doesn't jump on you, and then go ahead and start it. I'll do this a couple times. Now I'll disconnect the main fuse. So here you have your fuel line. Just push up on this collar and pull down. You will have some fuel that comes out, so just have a rag ready. So for the fuel tank, you have 2 screws in the rear right here. Then you have 2 screws in the front underneath these caps. Just take these rubber caps off and your screw is right here. Now these screws, you can use a 1/2-inch socket or a T40 Torx. All right, now that I've purged the fuel line, I have everything disconnected, I have those screws removed, I can go ahead and remove the tank. Now, when you remove your tank, you just want to make sure you have somewhere where you're going to set it and it's not going to get scratched. Now I'll remove this cover that's covering up all your wiring harnesses and cables. That way I can run that power midline underneath. Now, if you're taking this off for the first time, you probably have tape. You can go ahead and cut that tape. For me, I have zip ties, so I'll go ahead and cut the zip ties. They're just held down by some clips. You can go ahead and pop it off. Also, you have your brake lines right here. You can just lift up on this tab and work those off. Now, I do have the Harley-Davidson chopped engine guard. Now, in order to get this off, I do have 2 screws up here. These are a 3/16 hex bit. Then you have 2 Torx screws on each side near the floorboards. Now, your floorboard setup might be different. I have 3 screws right here that I need to remove, and they're a 5/16 hex bit. Now that I have the floorboard out of the way, I can access this screw right here. So on the left side, it's going to be the exact same thing. I can't access this screw without removing this bracket. So on the left side, I have the same setup. I have 3 screws right here, and they're a 5/16 hex bit. Now, if you're taking an engine guard off or installing one, make sure you cover up your front fender. Now, because I do have the Harley-Davidson fairing spoiler kit, if you have a CVO with a CVO spoiler, you're probably going to have the same thing. You have these 2 clamps on each side. You need to take these screws out, and they're a T27. Now I'll take out the lower screws, and they're a T45. Now I'll take out the top 2 screws. Just make sure you have a hold of your engine guard so it doesn't fall on you. Now, before I install the new crash bar, I'm going to go ahead and thread chase these holes. So these 2 screws right here, you have these collars or these buttons. These will go on the top. I'll add some blue Loctite. So from here, I'll carefully guide the crash bar in, and I'll get those 2 screws started. Now, I won't tighten these down all the way. I want to get my other screws in. So here I have the larger screw with the collar. This is going to mount on the bottom. Now, the kit does come with 2 spacers. The larger spacer is going to go on the left side. This is so you can clear your chin spoiler. Same thing, I'll apply some blue Loctite. And to get this screw in, I'm using a 7/32 hex bit. Now, the skinny spacer is going to go on the right side. That's why you want to loosely install it so you can get everything lined up. Now I'll go ahead and finish tightening these down. Now, if you did have clamps on your previous crash bar that mounted on to your spoiler right here, you're not going to be able to access that, but this spoiler stays in place no matter what. Now, for your lights, you can either have these on the top or you can have them on the bottom. You can easily just take this slider off and then switch it around. But for me, I'm gonna keep mine on the bottom. You just have a screw inside of here. You can use a 3/8 hex bit to get that screw out. Then once you get everything tightened down, you can easily adjust your light right here. You have screws on the side, and then you have a nut on the top where you can easily adjust your light left and right, up and down. Just be careful when you take this screw out that your light doesn't fall. So I'll apply some blue Loctite onto this bolt. So here I have the end cap that goes on the end of the slider. You have this O-ring right here. That's gonna keep it nice and sealed inside. Now for this O-ring, you can shift this over. You have 3 different slots. So if you're having a hard time getting this to fit, if it's too loose or if it's too tight, you can shift this O-ring over into each of these slots and then just try those out. So once you have your bracket set, make sure it's straight up and down. You can take your end cap and then just push it in all the way. Now this screw does not tighten down. This is so you can get this end cap off. You would just loosen this up a little bit. You can grab a pair of pliers and then you can just pull on the screw to get this end cap off. So it's going to be the exact same thing on the right side. All right, so here you have the Gorilla Cable Kit. Santoro Fabworx and Gorilla Cables, they linked up and they made a plug and play kit. So here you have your power midline harness. This is gonna run underneath the tank. On one side, you have your auxiliary connector. I'll show you exactly where this plugs into. And then on the other side, you have the connection that's gonna plug in into your splitter. And you have your 2 leads right here that's gonna split off to both of your lights. And then you have these other connections right here. One connection is gonna connect to the power midline harness. And then the other connector is going to plug in into your push button switch. This is going to allow you to turn on and off your lights. Very, very simple plug and play system, no cutting or splicing wires. Great system from Gorilla Cables. Now, I already ran an entire test on this kit. So before you actually get all this ran, you want to make sure that you test it. So behind your right side cover, right near your ABS, you do have an auxiliary connector. It's not plugged into anything. It's just held on by a tab right here. It's not connected to anything in here. So I'll take the power midline and plug this in. It only goes on one way. Just push it into here, click, and make sure it's secure. And then you can run your cable however you want. Obviously, you want to run it underneath the tank along with your other cables. I'll just run the cable behind the frame. So I have my cable running along these other harnesses on this side. That way I can have the cable come out right here. So I have my connection right here, and then I'll just plug in the splitter and split it off to the lights. They only go on one way. Just push them in until you hear it click. These are all waterproof connectors, so you don't have to worry about any corrosion or any water getting inside of there. But still, I like to add some dielectric grease. Now the shorter harness is gonna go to your power main line, and the longer harness is gonna go towards your push button switch. Once I have all the lines ran, I'll zip tie these cables. So here, I'm going to replace this perch clamp with that switch. You have 2 screws right here. Now yours might be different, but mine are a 3/16 hex bit. Just make sure you have a hold of your clutch assembly. You don't want that to fall on you. So when you tighten this down, make sure you tighten it down evenly. So here you have the cable. You can run your cable however you want. I'm gonna run mine along the clutch line. Now, they do supply you with zip ties in the kit, but you probably are gonna need a couple extra. Now, when you're running the switch line, you wanna make sure that you can still turn all the way right and all the way left. So now I'll just make the final connection right here. This is for the switch. And then I'll go ahead and clean these wires up. Now for your push button switch wiring, you have plenty of wiring. You can go ahead and zip tie whatever excess you have and then just kind of tuck that away. Now, if for some reason your lights don't work, you can pull off this fuse box right here. You have all your fuses. You do have spares along the right side. Here you have a 20 amp fuse that's gonna operate those lights. You have a spare right here. You can just switch that. Just remember, once you switch it, get rid of this old one and replace it. Now for these Baja S2 lights. Now it does say lens kit, but it only has 1 lens in there. So just make sure that you pick up 2 of these. These are sold individually. Now in the kit for each lens, you will get a new O-ring, gasket, or seal. Now I do have the drive combo lens. All drive combo means is that you have this drive lens on this side, which is straightforward, nothing obstructing it. And then you have this side of the lens, which basically directs that light towards the side. So to take this cover off, you have 4 screws right here, and they're a 2.5 millimeter hex bit. So you have your O-ring right here. You want to carefully pick that out and replace it. I'll go ahead and take this out so it doesn't fall out. Now this O-ring is brand new, so I really don't have to replace it. But in case you need to replace yours, all you have to do is just pick it out. You can use your fingernails or just use a picking tool, get this out, and then just put the other one back in the same way. Now when you put this in, just make sure it's seated all the way in. Same thing with the lens. You want to make sure you clean that off. before you mount it on. Now on these screws, you want to apply some thread locker. Now when you tighten this down, you want to tighten it down evenly so that O-ring sets in place properly. Just kind of tighten it down in an X pattern. Now each Baja Light is different when it comes to the torque values, but for these S2 Baja Lights, it's calling for 6.5 inch-pounds. Now it's time to install these saddlebag guards. Now I highly suggest you just cut your saddlebag support. If you already have saddlebag guards from Harley, then it's already going to come in 2 pieces, so you don't have to do any cutting. You just remove that one piece that's attached to the frame, then you can just insert your Santoro bag guard. So here you have your bend. You want to measure about 2 to 3 inches, and then you want to make your cut. Now I do have a shorty pipe, but if you have a longer pipe, I do suggest you cover that up, not only with a rag, but I would cover it up with a piece of wood or something, because if you do happen to slip and you have a rag, it's still going to cut into your pipe. So you can put a piece of wood on top of your pipes, that way you don't cut into them. So I do have a couple of cutting tools. I actually want to try this one out. This is a Mikwaukee CopperCutter. This is steel metal, so this might not work, but I still want to try it. I have tried this one. This one works just fine. And then I also use a metal saw blade. Now, if you are cutting, I do suggest you wear some eye protection and also some gloves. Now I'm going to try this Mikwaukee CopperCutter. You have a window right here where you can see your cut. So if anybody was wondering, like myself, if this would work, this does not work. Now that I have this cut, I can go ahead and remove this piece right here and toss it. You have a T45 torque screw on this side, then you have a 9/16 nut on the other side. Now your 2 mounting locations for your bag guard are right here and right here. You're going to remove this torque screw right here. It's going to be the same thing, T45. And you can get rid of these, you're not going to reuse them. Just slide that into there. Turn this up. Now here I have these screws with the button heads. Obviously the one with the nut is going to go on the bottom and this one is going to go on the top. So I'll get this top one started. So you have the screw with the lock nut. I'll run this through. So to get this tightened down, I'm using a 7/32 hex bit and a 9/16 wrench. Same thing with the top, it's a 7/32 hex bit. All right, so now it's time to install the sliders. Now for these sliders, you do have a long one and a short one. You want that longer one on the top and the shorter one on the bottom. You have these 2 screws right here. You'll take these out, and I'm using an extended 3/8 hex bit. Same thing with these screws. I'll add some blue Loctite. So here I have the Chacho upgrade sliders. You have this spacer right here that's gonna go first. You're just gonna line up just like that. It's gonna sit right on here. You'll take this end cap off. You'll have this O-ring that'll keep it in place once you put it back in. So I got my spacer, put that on, run that through. And then you have your plug right here. Just stick that in there. Just kind of use your palm of your hand to push it in, just like that. And like I said before, this screw does not tighten down. You kind of loosen it up a little bit where you can get a pair of pliers to pull it out. So same thing on the bottom. Run your screw through. So it's going to be the exact same thing on the other side. Now for these Santoro Fabworx stickers, you can put these wherever you want. I'm gonna put mine right here. Now I'm just gonna button everything up. Same way I took it off, I'm gonna put it back on. All right, so here we have the S2 lights on the Santoro Fabworx. This is with the lights off. I'll go ahead and cut them on. And these are extremely bright. I do not have the brights on the actual headlight. I'll turn those on. You can see I turned the headlights on. I turn the brights on for those. And then the S2, turn those off. Turn the S2s back on. Plenty of visibility with these S2 lights, but as you can see with the clears, you have plenty of visibility to the left, to the right, in front, and that's with the low beam on the headlight. And these are the performance headlights from Hogworks. So as you can see, I mean, even without the high beam on, these things are super bright. It almost feels like I have my high beams on. So yeah, I'll go ahead and cut them on again. So here we have the low beam. I'm on low beam on the headlight, high beam on the headlight, plenty of visibility. I'll cut it on the low beam, and then I'll turn on the S2 Baja lights on the Santoro Fabworx. So that's on, that's off. I'll look to the side. That's on, that's off, on, and off. So like I said, plenty of visibility with these S2 Baja lights on the Santoro Fabworx front crash guards. Great setup from Santoro Fabworx. I absolutely enjoy them. All plug and play, all plug and ride, whatever you want to call it. This setup is ready to go from the Gorilla cables. Everything was very super simple to plug and play. I love these companies now that are coming out with all this plug and ride wiring. No cutting, no splicing, you know, what we had to do back in the day. So like I said, I will change them over to the ambers, the drive combo. That way if you guys are, you know, contemplating on whether if you want clear or amber. So these left turners, I kind of give them a flash, and yeah, they see me. So before I used to, it was always a gamble whether they see me or not, you know, and had plenty of close calls. But you know, with these lights now, I have no doubts that these guys can see me. All right, so switched over to the amber lenses. I'm gonna try to get this done quick for you guys so you guys see the difference. I'm currently on the low beams on the headlights, high beam on the headlight, Hogworks headlight, the performance LED headlights, super bright. So low beam. I'll go ahead and start playing with the amber lights. So there you have the ambers, and I mean, with these ambers on the bottoms, I absolutely enjoy that I can have my headlights super bright and then have these ambers here just in case of any fog or dust, anything like that. These are perfect for that. Let you cut right through that. But very bright lights. Cut them off. I'm currently on the low beams on the headlight, so I'll put them on the high beams, and then I'll put on the Baja lights. I mean, I don't know if the GoPro is picking up what I'm seeing, but it's super bright on my end. I do have a GoPro shooting at the best lighting possible that you can put on a GoPro setting to capture as much light as I can. I know it's kind of hard. You have to actually see this in person to see how bright these things actually are, and they're super bright. Right now I have the brights on. I'll go ahead and cut them off before I start blinding people. But what's cool about having the amber lenses on there is that not only are people going to see the bright headlights, they're also going to see those amber lights, which it's going to catch their attention, let them know that you're there. Have the amber lights on. I'll cut them off. I'm on the low beam on the headlights. Cut them back on. And I'm very, very impressed with these amber drive combo lights. Like I said, you have that clear field of view on one lens, and on the other side of the lens you have a angled view. So you're getting all this angle to the right side, and you're getting all this angle to the left side. Brights on, brights off, and then I'll cut the S2 lights on, off, on, and off. Then I'll go ahead and turn the brights on. The amber lights are on, off, on, off. I mean, crazy amount of view with these amber lights. So I can roll around with my low beams on, and I feel like I have brights on.
super bright. I mean, all the way to the right, all the way to the left. I'm sticking with the amber lights. I do like the clears for the headlights, and then the ambers for me are mostly for nighttime riding, for dust, fog, any of that. I'm very, very impressed with these lights. Can't say enough about them. Yeah, with the brightness on the cornering is perfect. I know a lot of lights you can't even see when you're cornering, but very, very happy with these S2 lights. Really, really happy with these Santoro Fabworx crash bars, front and the rears. They have everything ready to go for you. Very simple to install. It's a lot more expensive to get your parts, everything painted, everything fixed, than just getting a set of these front and rear crash bars. Alright guys, that's pretty much it. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you haven't already, hit that subscribe button, hit that bell notification, and I just hit the horn before I say, oh man.